In the 18th century, the Appalachian Mountains formed a rugged barrier between the Atlantic colonies and the vast interior of North America. But in New York, nature left a doorway, the Mohawk Valley Corridor. In the 18th century, New York City was a major port on the eastern seaboard. Goods would arrive from all over the world. At the time, shipping by waterways was the least expensive way to move the cargo around the expanding countryside. The Hudson River Corridor would only take the goods so far. To travel west by water, the Mohawk River provided a path. When the cargo of goods arrived at the docks in Albany, they needed to be unloaded. The majority of the goods had to be transferred to ox-drawn wagons and transported overland about 16 miles to Schenectady, where they were again loaded onto flat-bottomed bateaux for further shipment up the Mohawk River. After the cargo was loaded onto the flat-bottomed barges, they would be navigated upstream through the Mohawk Valley. Men would use what they called setting poles, which were 10 to 15 feet long. They would drive them down the side of the barge into the river bottom, then walk toward the stern to power upstream. Upon reaching the many rapids on the Mohawk River, the men would either have to pull the bateau around the rapids to the upstream side or unload and transfer to another barge upstream. Traveling along the Mohawk Corridor could be a very peaceful or possibly a very dangerous experience, depending on the Mohawk Valley's temperament. This thoroughfare was a highly strategic piece of property, and many wars, including the American Revolution, would determine what kind of passage these rivermen might encounter. The Mohawk River cut a natural corridor through country that was otherwise difficult to cross. In an age before canals, railroads, and highways, this valley became one of the most important east-west routes in North America. The waterway was pretty straightforward, with some rapids on the Mohawk to navigate. Today, this is where we find the state locks along this river. And then there were true bottlenecks to deal with. Woods Creek was a very small waterway and not big enough to float the cargo boats of the day, so a 3 to 4 mile portage was required. This required overland travel and transfer of goods from boats to land wagons or boats had to be carried to continue the trip. During war, this stretch became a strategic asset for whoever controlled it. Once all of the obstacles had been conquered, the barges would travel down the Oswego River and enter Lake Ontario at Fort Oswego. At Fort Oswego, the cargo would be transferred to larger lake-sailing vessels for the journey west down the lake toward the Niagara River. Once they reached the western end of Lake Ontario, somewhere near Fort Niagara, they would again be loaded onto smaller barge-type boats to be sent farther west to cities and towns throughout the Midwest, ending their journey in the New York Territory. Again, the importance of the Mohawk Valley's geography lies in its ability to move cargo fairly quickly and cost-effectively. This natural advantage led to the development of many cities in central New York that remain important in today's economy. So, fast forward to today's Mohawk Valley. Different modes of transportation have arrived to move freight and people, but it is still one of the most important corridors in America for promoting the exchange of goods and humanity. I hope you have enjoyed the journey. Cheers!